Among all the countries that have it, the Philippines has had the most political dynasties. With that said, 94% of municipalities in the country are currently being held by political dynasties. Every province has at least two dynasties fighting for a government office. This begs the question, do we know how this would affect the country itself? These families that branch out and occupy different elected government posts can make the most out of their power in various ways. Either they give in to greed or make use of their experience to teach their posterity and provide better decisions for the place and people they live. When we look into it, political dynasties have pure potential into becoming a good practice in the government. Although it may have a reputation for causing cases and issues, when this is handled in the right hands, it could create improvements in the country.
Political dynasties have their own disadvantages, but they aren't all that bad. They actually have quite a lot of benefits and advantages too, which is what we want to disseminate to you. An advantage would be the fact that people from the same political dynasty should often have the same goal, and if their goals are truly for the betterment and improvement of our country, they can work together to make our country better and more beautiful. It would be easier to work together considering they're from the same political dynasty. They can help each other work on the projects, and they can also finish the projects that their predecessors weren't able to.
With this continuity, they have to promote and enact laws and ordinances that they are long-term in nature, with a slim chance of candidates outside the dynasty interfering the plans. When they continue ruling, there is some sort of bond created between the nation and rulers over the world, dynastic politics, and some brilliant politicians.
Families' influence on a certain area can attract more attention to their specific place and culture. They can use it to give themselves and the area they're ruling a good reputation, even fame. And they can use their culture to attract people, such as festivities and festivals, celebrations, food, and much more. This can also be of use when campaigning, for they have already earned the support of many.
However, a family's influence over a particular region can also appear biased to people who are not part of the dynasty. It will appear that they only care about the local community and are not concerned about the entire country. Additionally, it might damage the area's reputation and hurt its economy. Most political dynasties end up being bad for the country because families would like to keep their power and are willing to go through major lengths of corruption just to accomplish their goals, brainwashing the public into thinking what they are promoting is for their own benefit, when in fact, the beneficiaries are those controlling from behind the scenes.
Some might say political ties must stop in a third world country like the Philippines, and when it makes the rich richer and the poor poorer. It gives people in position security, live mandate security in our countrymen for the food and basic human rights. Political dynasties enable people to hold their power even the longest time, even others to gain more power if only feeds the family with power or wealth when the countrymen continue to suffer from poverty and hunger.
There can be good political dynasties. We who are given the chance to choose who to put up there should actually enlighten ourselves on what they plan, what they contribute, and how they work in order to be the right people leading us.
We have the chance to vote for anyone, so let's all make it a point to vote for people who are actually good for our country. Politicians who will really be able to help improve the Philippines. The politicians in the dynasties that we have were also able to do good to our country. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt and give them credit for the good things they've done.
Ergo, it's not always true that political dynasties do no good for the country. There will always be a positive side to everything. They were elected as politicians because they have the capability to do their jobs and fulfill their oaths. The so-called bad politicians have, of course, done something good at least once, but most people just simply refuse to believe it. And we do not know what is truly happening off camera, so we should not be quick to judge them. Not everything we see in the media is true, so we should learn to classify fake news from just news.
There are definite pros and cons to having political dynasties, but the idea that some might have that make political dynasties seem completely bad is something that I do not agree with. A dynasty always has the chance to be good. It is up to the people in the dynasty to prove to us that they are good and will give positive improvements to the country. There are plenty of deserving politicians who are willing to help the nation. We just have to give them a proper chance by voting correctly and using our power as citizens to put the right people in power, which in turn will help avoid possible negative effects that can come from a bad dynasty, such as corruption and the abuse of power at its highest form.
After some research, we can say that the Cayetano dynasty or family is one of the political dynasties that we can recognize as a good political dynasty. Siblings Alan and Pia have contributed a lot to our country and country people. For one, most of the laws authored by Alan Cayetano focus on education, persons with disabilities rights, political reforms, health, and environment. Some examples of laws that he made are Republic Act No. 10648, which is also called the Scholar ng Bayan Act of 2014, and Republic Act No. 7277. The Republic Act No. 10648 is a law that provides scholarships to the top graduates of all public high schools and state-owned universities and colleges, while the Republic Act No. 7277 is Magna Carta for disabled persons. It provides for the rehabilitation, self-development, and self-reliance of disabled persons and their integration into the mainstream society. Senator Pia Cayetano, on the other hand, helped finance the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act. She also helped develop and make a lot of laws related to children without families and homes. Some examples would be the Domestic Administrative Adoption and Alternative Child Care Act and the Foundling Recognition and Protection Act. These laws are part of a series of alternative child care reforms that started with the Foster Care Act, which she also financed in 2009. Pia Cayetano also worked on the Children's Emergency Relief and Protection Act, which are laws that ensure the children's rights and welfare in their times of need.
Dynastic politics lower the entry barrier key. Ultimately, it is the performance of each individual which gets them to the top. It will always be up to their strategy, decisions, and effort for them to be recognized. Granted that they succeed, their place and its people should be successful as well. It would be absurd if they undermine this ability, for this should be their career's purpose.
To determine if political dynasties are good really depends on the family involved. If they know how to use their power and influence to inspire and motivate the people, then it would be seen as a positive, using the funds they collect to help improve communities instead of keeping it for their own benefit. Although rarely seen, it is definitely possible. The Cayetano family is a good example, as they used their position to help improve the education of our nation. They made campaigns to help with PWD rights, to improve the healthcare system in our country, and to ensure that we give attention to the environment around us. Pia Cayetano also helped the children of our country, giving those who aren't lucky enough to have a family around them a proper chance at having a successful and happy life. With the program she helped create, the future of our country is bright. Although they may not be perfect, they still prove that if we give our trust into the right people, they can make the most of their power and help the Philippines improve as a nation.